Hello, fire service friends and family of our great state of South Carolina and those who are watching outside of South Carolina. We are here at the 116th Annual Fire Rescue Conference in downtown Columbia, South Carolina. I'm Keith Minick, the current president of the South Carolina State Firefighters Association, and it's a pleasure to have this conference and being back in person. And we've had a good event so far, and I'm sitting beside a well-known gentleman who is full of history and passion for the fire service and seen a lot of great things and not so great things in our fire service. And Mr. Carter Jones does a lot of history preservation for our South Carolina Firefighters Association, and always hard at work and very passionate of fire service. So I know he's got a booth, and we're in Friday of conference. We still got tomorrow, Saturday, and we'd love to have people still come down and tour the vendor hall and see the vendors and take some training throughout. But this little segment is about the history, and we talk about never forgetting and where we've been and where we're going. And so I got an expert with me sitting by me, and certainly he's had some people come by his booth and ask how things work. So Carter, if you will, take a second and tell me what's important about never forgetting in the history of the fire service.
Well, so many events over the years, major fires, the Iroquois Theater fire, the Cleveland School fire in South Carolina. We say never forget, but generations come and go, time passes, and quite often we do forget. So part of our job as an association is hopefully to preserve our history and present it in a fashion where today's generation of firefighters or the public in general can learn from our past. And we have a history booth this year. We started about 7 years ago or 8 years ago, bringing in vintage fire apparatus, tools, helmets, things from our past that today's firefighter never knew existed. And this year is no different. We have 2 locations, one in the lobby with a beautiful apparatus from the Casey Museum, and then down below the escalator we have a larger exhibit. We have some artifacts from the late 1700s and riveted leather fire hose. You don't see these things, but we have it. One other thing that many of our firefighters don't realize, the Firefighters Association has joined the South Carolina Federation of Museums, and we have presented at their annual conference recently. So we are now considered a mini museum in our state. And we encourage people to come by our office and see some of the exhibits that we have. It's a mini museum, but there's some neat items in there. We hope to expand one day so that we can preserve our history, and I'm seeking help in writing the history. I'd love to write the history of every fire department in the state. But we have accomplished quite a few histories. They're now online on our website, where you can go and see the history of the Walterboro Fire Department, Dillon Fire Department, Marion, and several others. And we want to continue to update our website, the history aspect of it. We are planning an interactive map of fire departments that have vintage trucks or their own little museums, or museums across the state that have exhibits that as you pass through you can click on and see that the city of Marion has a museum and they have a number of artifacts there. So a lot of good things are happening. Yeah. Thanks to the support of the executive committee and our leadership and staff. I'm living a dream, and I'm very grateful to everybody for support.
And living a dream with passion. And I tell you, we've had that conversation of that roadmap, and I think it'd be cool that I can look at the newly designed website that we have at the association and know that if I'm traveling upstate, mid-state, the city of Newberry has a 1917 American with French. I could pop in, make arrangements, stop by and see, and we certainly want our members across the state, if they have something, to reach out to us at the association. You know, put it in the queue, so to speak, right?
Exactly. Reach out to us, contact us, let us know what you have. One other interesting project that we are initiating, Bill Seegers, who is a captain with the Hartsville Fire Department, has a passion for photography. He has offered to help us with the project of taking photographs of old fire stations or repurposed fire stations, as well as current fire stations, and give the history of some of them. For example, the Kirkwood, I believe, fire station in Camden is now a beautiful apartment complex.
Right.
And, you know, it's going to be some interesting things this coming year.
And I tell you, having this conversation with you, I forgot. We talked about Newberry going from their firehouse to now the Firehouse Convention Conference Center. So it's a lot of unique things in history around this state. And I know you worked on a book previously with some history in it, and certainly people have an opportunity this weekend, this afternoon or tomorrow, to come by and visit with you one-on-one and have that conversation and see what's on display. And certainly next year, have a booth and love to rotate items out and put new things in the booth to have different conversations with.
Exactly. And I'm so excited about working with our state's museums, the small ones as well as the large ones, in hopes that we will be able to maybe exchange or swap artifacts, and so people can see them. And one day my dream, and I think I share the same dream of others, is to have a state fire museum. We have people out there who have restored old fire apparatus, but they are housed in barns and sheds, and nobody gets to see them.
Right.
But they could loan them to us and we could display it. But that's for another day. But history is so important. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to be involved in maybe moving it along.
As a young firefighter coming in, and you've seen the open cab trucks to closed cab trucks to power steering and air conditioning in it. It's just so much. But I think that as a young firefighter, you have to know where you were, where you are, and what the future is. Because I tell you, apparatus and equipment is changing daily. But if we don't preserve it, and we lose that history, and we forget about our forefathers of the fire service, where we are today. And I think whether it's never forget 9/11, Charleston 9, or the history of the fire service with apparatus and equipment, the old game wheel system. Y'all got a neat system downstairs with the game wheel box wired up, and I think it's cool where people need to understand that of the technology we have today versus then.
No question. And South Carolina has such a rich history of the fire service. The story of the Cleveland School fire back in 1923, 77 children, parents, and patrons were killed in that fire. But as a result of that fire, our nation's fire codes were impacted and changed. I think about so many other fires that we've had and incidents that people need to remember and learn from those experiences. We've had major floods, 100-year, 1,000-year floods in South Carolina. How did we do? And it's important to remember the weaknesses that we had, the mistakes that we made, but we've come so far in perfecting it. So we do need to know our past.
And I think you're right when you talk about Cleveland fire, and even the Charleston Soper Superstore changed codes again. And it's amazing how things are reactive instead of proactive. But we see that in life. We know it's going to happen. But I think as we go back to, we have to study that. We have to understand that, whether it's apparatus development, whether it's tools development, or whether it's codes involved, even the operation of day-to-day firefighters. I mean, it's just so much to gather from the past to make us better in the future.
Absolutely. I've done some research going back to the days of the steam fire engines pulled by horses. So many towns and cities, these apparatus were involved in wrecks. And the cause was fast driving of the horses.
Isn't that something?
But today, we still have apparatus accidents because we are maybe reckless or drive too fast. So lessons are to be learned from 120 years
Isn't
ago.
that something? Still repeating the same thing after history after history.
Exactly.
That's cool. Well, again, I appreciate Carter taking a few minutes of his time today just to give us a highlight of some history, why it's important, and his involvement being downstairs at the convention center and upstairs as well. So we'd love for you to come out and see us. You still have time. Tomorrow we're open again in the morning. Vendor halls are 9 to 3. And drive down to Columbia, visit with us. And if you don't make it down, certainly look Carter up and reach out to your association. We'd love to tap into what you may have as far as history to preserve here in the state and make us better tomorrow than what we are today. So
Exactly.
any last few comments or highlights?
I would say this, if any fire department or historical society within the state
Yes.
needs a speaker on history, fire service history, we've got some videos, we have some pictures. We can put on a good 45-minute, hour, 2-hour program on fire service history. So reach out to us. We'll come to you. And if you live in a community with a museum and you want to brainstorm a little bit about how to display any old equipment or set up an exhibit, reach out to us. That's what we're here for. We want to help you.
There may be a car show somebody's putting on and forget about an old apparatus of a fire engine to come out to. So that'd be neat as well. And before we close, I really need to highlight, we certainly line of duty deaths are something that you've been instrumental in help finding line of duty deaths that were missed over the years. And we certainly want to make sure we get those folks recognized
Exactly.
for what happened to them. And so every year it seems like you're finding somebody who puts their name on the wall at our memorial site at the State Fire. And that's a lot of work, time, and energy. You've helped me personally back home discover history. And so the talent that you have and your passion really means a lot to this fire service. And we really appreciate it.
Well,
really appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity to let me do it. And I wish I had 20 more years, but it's a joy to be involved, and
Yes.
I thank you.
Well, we appreciate it, and thank y'all for watching. Certainly love to see you at the conference, and if not, reach out to us if any way the association can be assistance to you. Thank you. God bless, and be safe.